Back to Law and Crime, everybody, for a Veterans Day. It is good to have you along. So we're continuing to recap some of the details from the Florida versus Matthew Terry case in which he's accused of killing Kate Baker, viciously stabbing her, almost decapitating her. A bloody mess, a scene that was just out of a horror film. So CSI types, very important to figure out what exactly happened in this case. So let's listen to some of that testimony.
Appears to be some discoloration in the grass just to the lower left of T. Is that discoloration relating to the position of K. Baker?
Yes, it is.
And is that a close-up? This is 41C. That's a close-up of that same area?
Yes, sir, it is.
And 41D? Same area?
It is. Kind of the bottom right of the picture is that area we were discussing on the previous photograph, and the center and the top is the porch to 6209.
What does this depict?
And that is another large area of suspected blood in between the house of 6209 and 6211.
Same photograph with tape measure?
Yes, sir.
41J?
This one is another large area of suspected blood, which I had labeled with the green marker R, as in Romeo. This is actually on the west side of 6211, kind of near the front porch.
There appear to be some sort of red-colored, an arch pattern on the side of the wall at the base?
Correct.
Is that the way you found it?
It is.
Brandon Douglas, CSI guy. You don't have to be a real CSI guy, Richard Schoenstein, to see there's a lot of blood there. There had to be a major wound or two. But I think the location of the blood may be much more helpful than the fact that it's there and that there were these wounds that caused it. What do you think about apparently an escape or an attempted escape, it seems? What does that tell us about the story?
Well, it could tell us about an escape. You're right about that there's blood in multiple places. It could also tell you about the savageness of the attack, that somebody really hacked into a body and blood spattered. So I think they're trying to establish that. I think basically there's 2 points of this testimony. One is to establish that it's a savage and gruesome murder. And the second is to establish and give credibility to the actual investigation, because the defense here has hinted that they're going to try to take issue with the investigation that was done of this crime, which is, a common defense tactic, right? Go after the investigators. So by showing all of these different little imprints and all of these different blood marks, it shows that the investigators were looking for detail, and that lends credibility to the actual investigation itself.
I think the trickiest thing here, Katherine, unless you're successful in proving, the Bart Simpson defense, I didn't do it, it makes it look like this was hunting, that he had his prey trapped, the prey got away somehow, and I believe the prosecution suggests that she locked herself in a bathroom and then popped out that window and tried to flee. I mean, it just makes it look so much more evil than, and this is horrible, of course, if you kill somebody, that's about as evil as you need to get. But it seems even worse because of the trail of blood and what looks like this hunting that he took to take her down.
Yeah, it looks like a crime of passion, which is what the state is trying to establish here, I believe, because like you mentioned, they presented in their opening arguments that there are evidence that she tried to escape from the window and to be stabbed on the back while she's trying to escape and hunted down. And like what Rich just said, that there's just so much force with the amount of injury and blood spatter. I would not be surprised that they will bring a blood spatter expert here to talk about how the injury actually was sustained and how severe that was.
Yeah, and I think we're going to learn that the wounds caused to bleed out. And again, a near decapitation, you're cutting through most everything that would cause that to happen in a pretty quick period of time. Let's go back to the testimony of this crime scene investigator. This is the cross-examination.
You end up swabbing every spot that you put a marker down for.
Yes, I did.
And do all of those swabs end up getting sent to FDLE for future testing?
I don't know what ended up getting submitted. I just do the collection and packaging, and then once I turn it into evidence, I have no further involvement with it.
Are there some items that you do have follow-through with, as far as if you collect items of evidence at the scene and then you take them back to your office, that you may process further?
Yes, potentially.
Now, when you arrived at the scene, was the dishwasher in that state, meaning the door open and the drawers pulled out?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And was it your understanding that that was done by either...
No, found it when I got there.
Okay, so if that was done, like the other things that may have been done prior to your arrival, you don't have any independent knowledge of that. That's just how it was observed at the time when you arrived.
Correct.
And was there any blood evidence that you located inside of the residence?
There was not.
Okay, so that's the cross of the CSI guy who's really just a facts kind of guy. Katherine, any points made on this cross? What do you think she was trying to do?
Well, she made a point that there's no blood inside the house. I know this is the cross, but it really proves, though, to the prosecution that the savageness happened outside of Kay Baker's house. And I wanted to go back to point out how just ludicrous it seems with the allegation that the defendant made against Kay Baker that she was trying to dance with another guy, and that led to this crime of passion. That's really where the prosecution should put a lot of their efforts in, because I think that's a strong argument against him, considering his history as well.
Yeah, you make a good point there in terms of the level of wrongdoing here, because it is a first-degree murder case. Rich, you don't get first-degree murder, you're not getting the death penalty. Do you think for the defense, hey, it's a win if we just keep this guy alive?
I think that probably would be a win, given the strength of the evidence here. Katherine makes a good point about no blood inside the house, but that to me is a better point for the prosecution, right? And it goes to your death penalty point. He chased this woman down from the house into the woods. That gives you premeditation. That's no longer an act of passion. They didn't get in a fight over something and he happened to kill her because he got excited. He chased her down, cornered her or whatever, attacked her maybe multiple times and killed her. And that's going to get you into that category that you need to be in to consider the death penalty.
Yeah, as we know, that malice aforethought, that intent can happen like that. And he had, if there was some passion, some opportunity to cool down because she was in the bathroom locked away. Maybe that ramped him up, and that's where the intent was formed. So we'll have to see if the prosecution focuses on that, and certainly can't wait to see what the defense does.